right? And then you should be very clear that this is the area I want to work on, right? Or I want to work with. So get yourself trained accordingly. And education and licensing requirements. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say fortunately, we do not still have a licensing body. Do you have licenses? Right? I think RCI only, right? But rest of the counselors, psychologists do not have licenses. I sometimes envy a person selling puchka, pani puri on the street because they have a license and I don't. And I can say, they can threaten me. I will sue you and your license will be taken away. I said, okay, go ahead. I don't have money. But that's irony. Hopefully we will have a licensing body very soon. So it's important to know what kind of training do you undergo. Make sure that the training also offers internship opportunities where you can actually witness the work being done. And believe me, 1 month of internship can teach you more than 3 years of college life, right? I have an intern sitting here. Where are you? There you are. So what do you think? What did the internship do to you?
Definitely, sir. I got more exposure. I got a lot of exposure, have to diagnose and also have to treat the patient in more intense fashion rather than just saying some philosophical quotes, etc. Doing it like a professional, have to go on. I learned a lot.
So you witness hands-on, right? Thank you very much. So she has also been sitting through several sessions. So she was fortunate enough to witness live sessions by paid customers or paid clients. So internships are very, very important. You learn more by observing rather than by just listening. And that's why half of my session would be devoted to demonstration. So make sure that you undergo. Second thing is supervision. Whenever you are doing counseling, it is important to be seen live at that moment by a supervisor, right? Now, in reality, this is a tough case, but when you are undergoing training, usually when I underwent my training at the Albertalis Institute, we were peer counselors to each other. So let's say that there is a group of 8 students. They were all counseling each other and another supervisor was supervising our therapy. And they would give a feedback that this is what you did right and this is what you could have improved on. Believe me, there is nothing like supervision, right? However, how many of you know of supervisors or how many of you think you have an access to supervision? Okay, so only 5 hands went up. In fact, all the hands should go up because you have ChatGPT right now. Please download the app, right? And it has a voice function. You could press that voice function and say that now I'm going to conduct a session. Listen to it carefully. And at the end of the session, give me a feedback of how I did and what areas I should improve on. It will quietly listen to your session and then give you feedback at the end of it. You have a supervisor, right? Please do not think that ChatGPT cannot do real good work. It can do amazing work. So now please record sessions. If you don't want ChatGPT to interrupt in the midway, you can record session, upload the audio file and say that this is my session and now supervise it and give me the feedback. It will give it to you in 30 seconds.
Virtual supervision.
Virtual supervision. But it's mind-blowing. And the need for real supervisors like me is now gone. So I am retiring now, right? But believe me, audio tape your own sessions and give it to ChatGPT. Another efficient way to supervise your sessions is by yourself. When you listen to your own session, you will understand, oh my God, did I really say that? I shouldn't have said that. And then next time you make notes, but 2-way. You supervise your own session and also let ChatGPT do it. Last one will be practical experience and internships. This is the step 5. When you are finally, let's say, come down to 3 or 4 professions, 3 choices, then you go for practical training. Make sure that the training also involves supervision. For instance, at the Beck Institute where I got my training, there was no supervision. There was only lecturing. But at Albert Ellis Institute, we had supervision. So there was practice and supervision. So any institute that offers real-time supervision is indispensable. And now you can replicate that at home with ChatGPT also. You can also tell ChatGPT that be my peer counselor. So now I will counsel you and act as if you are depressed, right? And then do the counseling. And after 10 minutes, say that, how did I do on my session? Give me suggestions. It will give you suggestions on how to improve on that specifically. And then you could become the client and ChatGPT does therapy with you, right? So that can also be done. Okay, so now let's say that you have chosen counseling and psychotherapy as a profession, right? Now why should you choose this? Because it offers some nice benefits, such as counseling and psychotherapy offer direct interaction with clients. You can directly talk to the clients, you can help them. We have opportunities to work in diverse settings. In fact, counseling can be individual counseling or group counseling. And believe me, after COVID, the need for counselors and psychologists has gone up. And we are not ready for the pandemic, which is loneliness, right? And so we need more and more trained professionals, not just degree holders. We need trained professionals, and this is going to go up and up. The need is going to increase in the coming years. So I want all of you guys to please undergo training as much as possible in a specialized area. So remember that you can't do everything, and you should not be doing everything. Be very, very focused on what you want to do. And if you are reasonably intelligent, you can be successful in anything. The key to success is not inclusion. It's like doing 10 certificates. The key to success is exclusion, not doing 10 certificates. Just one, right? So please remember that. Then you can work with different. Even if you have chosen counseling and you don't like to work with schools, you can simply shift to individual setting. You can also shift to hospital setting. You could go to industries and start counseling there. So that's one good thing about counseling and psychotherapy is you can work in multiple settings. And it helps you. Every time I do counseling with a client, I get new insights that, oh, this is something that I could use in my own life as well. And that's because of distancing. When you counsel another person, you gain yourself as well. So you grow as a person. Okay, so now I want all of you to take out your mobile phones. I encourage my students to take out mobile phones during class and point the mobile phone on this QR code, and we will see. I hope that this Menti works. And start voting which therapies do you want to learn. What kind of therapies do you want to learn? You can vote as only 5 options, so choose carefully. And then submit. I hope that we will be able to see some results. Is it working? It's working. It's working. Sorry. Which therapies are you interested in? What kind of therapies would you like to get trained in, right? Okay, so yeah, it is working. So it's showing the results now. And vote. So choose 5, maximum 5. So we have results coming up. These are some interesting therapies that you come across on a day-to-day basis. Alright, so we have live votes. Tough competition. I hope everyone votes. When do you have state elections here? They're already done. Okay. NLP is not a therapy. But yes, it is very popular among psychologists. and neuro-linguistic programming.
So we can only select four.
But it's not a therapy, but people think it's a therapy. Sorry?
We can only select four.
You can only select 5,
Five.
because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. Okay, so now we have the winner here is maximum people are interested in CBT, right? CBT and REBT, followed by client-centered therapy. Now let's look at what therapies are really shown to be effective. So we have this, and what really is effective. Now, how did I find out what is effective? Because these therapies have the maximum evidence. The number of research papers published are these. CBT has maximum number of research papers published that are about randomized controlled trials that show the efficacy which is clinically significant. So now of course there must be more than 1500, but these are meta-analysis as well. So we have around 1500 papers, individual studies and meta-analysis of CBT. So you can see that it surpasses all other therapies. Cognitive therapy by Beck is the leading therapy in the world in terms of efficacy, right? So there's no doubt that CBT is effective if you learn it well. Followed by client-centered therapy, ACT. ACT is also cognitive behavioral therapy. Then DBT, again, it's a cognitive behavior therapy. EMDR has a lot of research evidence now. And REBT, although I'm a big fan of REBT, it has only 100 research papers published. Although REBT is the original cognitive behavior therapy, right? So it is the grandfather of all cognitive behavior therapies, but it didn't get as much attention as it should have. Right? Okay, so I would now also request one person to volunteer for today's session. The person should be cooperative, right? What happens is, I can deal with resistance, but this is not a good place to demonstrate my skills for resistance, right? It will waste a lot of time. Someone who is really willing to work on their problems and does not bring up issues such as grief or, ill health of a family member, right? So you can bring in any other issue. So you would like to? Okay, so please come and take your seat and I'll finish the presentation in the meantime. So please invest time in evidence-based therapies only. CBT is the gold standard therapy today. What does it mean? That every other therapy is compared to CBT, how effective it is as compared to the gold standard. Right? So if you bring up new therapy, then people will ask you how effective it is as compared to CBT. So please do not underestimate the efficacy of CBT. It's gold standard. Why should you choose evidence-based therapies and not what people want? A lot of people want past life regression, crystal ball therapy, ping pong ball therapy. I don't know what kind of therapies do we have. But every now and then you will see Instagram reels on different kinds of therapies that are popular. You might be tempted to go there. Why should you resist the temptation? Is because, first of all, there are evidence-based therapies like CBT are grounded in scientific research. So you know that they work. Second, it ensures effective ethical treatment for clients. So you're not cheating them, right? You're not cheating them and you're offering ethical and at the same time effective treatment. Third, they have been demonstrated to have efficacy in controlled clinical trials, which means that you can be confident that it will work, right? And if it is not working, then you will probably change your strategies or look into the matter, why is it not working, instead of doubting the therapy itself. No, it definitely works. There is something wrong in the scenario that I need to change. Then it provides measurable outcomes for treatment progresses. Many times we have clients over many sessions and we are not monitoring their progress. How do you know that your therapy is effective? The client says, I'm feeling better, but you can feel better and still not get better. Feeling better is, let's say that I have anxiety. Let's say I have social anxiety and I stopped going to the college, I stopped teaching, I will feel better. But getting better means my functioning has improved, right? Feeling better is not equivalent to getting better. You can feel better by venting out your problems with a friend. You can feel better by taking a vacation. You can feel better by smoking, alcohol, drugs, or avoidance. But getting better means your your functioning has improved, and you have a more adaptive reaction when the same thing happens again. It's also, you gain credibility. It's not that people start calling you a quack. You know that you're doing the right things, and it does not waste clients' resources. Many times what happens, clients engage in year-long therapy and it does not work. What will happen if therapy does not work? Let's say what happens when you have pain, let's say arthritis, and then you go to one doctor. That did not work. What will you do? You will change the doctor. But if therapy does not work, what will they do? They will stop going to therapy. They will say, I tried therapy, it does not work. And then all the doors for future help are closed. So you might be actually doing more damage to the person by engaging in therapies that are not evidence-based. Right? So this is the major reason why you should not play with the lives of clients. So let's quickly take a recap of how to choose the career. Is choose based on self-reflection, such as what is my value. Choose evidence-based practices, and your career should align with personal and professional values. But do intensive research of different kinds of professions in therapy. At the same time, choose something that is evidence-based. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate a CBT session here. I take the oath of confidentiality that I will not disclose what the client has disclosed outside the session. So do you take this oath of confidentiality? Yes. Okay, excellent. So may we have you? Thank you so much for coming. Have a seat. So I want you to observe the therapist behaviors. What were the helpful therapist behaviors? I would also want you to observe how CBT is different from the way you are doing, right? Or what kind of therapies you are doing, how is it different? Remember, there are millions of types of ways in which you could do CBT. As many CBT therapists, there will be different styles. So don't just copy my style, because every therapist will have a different style. But the content, what did I do? All right? Okay, so what do I call you? Okay, so you'll just have to hold the mic. Well,
Hi, my name is Anandini.
Anandini, what goals would you like to work on in today's session?
I feel really anxious, so I'm lagging a little.
Hold the mic a little closer.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Could you give me some cues?
So what kind of emotions or habits would you like to change?
Rage, anger.
Anger. So you mentioned one, anxiety, another is rage and anger.
No, I said I'm feeling anxious right now,
Right.
so I didn't have.
No problem. So you want to work on your rage. Why would you like to work on anger?
I think it's okay to feel emotions, but I don't think it's reasonable to take your anger out on other people who are unsuspecting in a lot of situations. So what I've observed is that I only express anger in safe situations, and the people who I consider safe bear the brunt of my negative feelings.
So you mean to say that your anger affects the relationships with your close people?
Yeah, it
Right.
is.
Is there any other reason why you would like to work on anger?
There's also a level of conditioning to see anger as a bad or a negative emotion.
But anger gets things done, right?
It does.
Then why would you like to work on anger? One, it damages relationship. Anything else?
I just don't think it's very productive to.
It's not productive.
Yeah.
Right? And do you know the reason why it's not so productive? Because when we are very angry, beyond a certain necessary and sufficient level, then our logical thinking gets blocked. And that's why, it's a popular saying, gussa akal ko kha jata hai, right? And that happens because the part of limbic system that controls our emotions, it bypasses the cerebrum. So when you're very aroused emotionally, say for example, anxiety, anger or depression or hurt, the logical thinking gets bypassed. And that's why it's not so productive. You're more likely to make mistakes and indecisions than if you were not so angry. Right? So any other reasons? Let's say that you feel less angry now onwards. How would that help you?
I think it would make me feel calm in the moment, and it would give me a level of clarity that would help me figure out a solution to whatever is making me angry.
Okay, so you'll have a better problem solving. This is what you mean to say.
Yeah.
All right. And how motivated are you to work on anger?
Very
0 to 10.
10.
Excellent. So now to understand your anger, I want you to give me a typical repetitive incident when you had anger which you consider to be more than what was required.
Okay, so I don't think the anger itself is wrong, but I feel like the way I reacted or how much of a reaction I had is unreasonable. It mostly has to do with my parents, my mother. When she shares information about me to my relatives or other people, I feel like I've put a boundary and I've told her that this is not acceptable, and she keeps crossing that, and that makes me very angry. So instead of sitting her down and talking to her in the moment, the anger takes over and I'm not able to do that.
So in this context, give me one incident. Say for instance, last Wednesday this happened that she gave this information about me to someone. So
Yeah.
a specific incident.
So I was just trying to help her with some information that I found out from my relatives, and I was trying to tell her that her behavior is not acceptable, that other people think badly of her. She confronted the relatives that talked to me about it, and that made me very angry. And
So in good faith, you disclose some information about a relative to her, right? And it became a full circle. So she went back to the relative, and then
Yeah.
the relative confronted you.
yeah,
How? That's a tricky situation. So on a 0 to 100, how angry did you feel at that time?
maybe an 8.
80. That's pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Do you think this is the rage that you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do after feeling so angry?
I should have let it simmer, but I instantly went to her, and as ashamed I am of it, I screamed at her, and I told her that her behavior was wrong, and that I'd never support her again, that this was the last time I'm on her side, and the only person that's on her side is being turned away by her actions.
So you yelled at her, which is kind of a little bit of verbal aggression, and you gave up on her. You said that I'm never gonna trust you again, right? Okay. Now that's pretty natural and common with people who have a lot of anger in that moment. However, you would like to respond differently next time when similar things happen.
Yes.
So let's get a little deeper into this incident, and I want you to tell me in this entire incident what was most anger-provoking for you.
That my mother broke my trust.
Your mother broke your trust, right? So the trigger was the mother disclosed the information to the relative that you had shared with her in trust, and the thought that came to your mind was she broke my trust, right? However, this is not sufficient for anger. I'll have to dig a little deeper into this. Would you be ready
Yeah,
to
sure.
explore the?
Yes.
Okay. So let's assume that your mother did break your trust. What does that mean?
That the person that is supposed to be the safest for me is no longer safe. There is a lot of loneliness, I think, that I felt in the moment, and it truly hit me how that you're just by yourself. That it's not easy to trust people, and trusting your parent, I think, is a very basic need. That's how the one place where you feel safe.
I mean to say my safe space has been taken up,
Yeah.
right? And you also mentioned loneliness, right? I sense helplessness rather than loneliness.
Definitely.
What was that? Was it more of loneliness or helplessness? That I can't trust anyone. It's so difficult to trust people these days, and my safest place has been taken up.
Yeah, a mix of both, but mostly a lot of helplessness.
Let me check again. In this incident, if you had practical help from other people, but these are not close associates. So it's not a meaningful relationship, but if you get into trouble, there are people to help. Would you still be so angry? Or if you had just close people you can confide in, and no practical help. Like brothers, you can confide in them, but they are of no practical help. So would you still be angry? So was it practical help or a fulfilling relationship that was more instrumental here?
I think a practical.
Practical help, right? So it has to do with more helplessness rather than loneliness. So we'll explore this a little more, right? So what does it mean if you do not receive practical help?
Could you reframe that?
If similar things happen or some adversities happen and you do not receive practical help, what does that mean?
That I wouldn't know what my next step is. Wouldn't know.
And if you don't know what your next step is, then what will happen?
I think I'd feel very helpless and I'd feel like
What will happen? Not how will you feel. What will happen?
it'll lead to anger and unreasonable behavior.
I'll give you three choices. It would be so nice if this happens that I'm not able to figure out what to do next. Would it be nice? It would be nice to be in such a situation where I can't figure out what to do next. Was this the thought?
No.
Two more thoughts. I will find it difficult, but I'll figure out somehow. Or I won't be able to deal with it. I won't be able to deal with it. So you were predicting that, if a difficult situation happens and I don't have a support system, I won't be able to deal with it. Do you think this negative prediction and poor self-efficacy or self-doubt has something to do with your anger?
Now that you say it, yes, it does.
Let me cross-check, just don't believe me. If at that moment, your safest space is gone, like your mother has broken your trust, but you had a lot of confidence in yourself that no matter what happens, I will be able to deal with it. Would you only be disappointed with your mother's behavior or would you be so angry?
I would just be disappointed.
Great, so we are on track. So here it is your poor self-efficacy which leads to feeling helpless, expresses as intense anger. So in order to work on your anger, do we have to work on your helplessness?
Rather my self-efficacy.
Yeah, and helplessness comes from poor self-efficacy, right? Do you see how poor self-efficacy has a link to your anger?
It does. It manifests as anger for me.
Do you also feel less self-efficacy or do you also find yourself doubting yourself in other situations than such scenarios?
I do.
Right. So do you think overall if you work on your self-efficacy, it might help you in many areas at the same time? Excellent. Okay, so can you summarize what we discussed so far?
Okay, so my biggest issue, the issue that I wanted to confront today is anger. And I had an assumption that my anger and the reaction I had to the feeling of anger was unreasonable and it came externally from my mother and her behavior. But now that I've talked to you, I figured out a way to handle both my feeling and the reaction to it internally. It's given me a better path, basically like a sort of a root cause analysis. That my anger is not truly just an anger, it's a mask, but behind the anger there is a level of
Self-doubt.
Self-doubt, yes.
So I have not yet told you how to go ahead, but we just did a root cause analysis that appears to be, your poor self-efficacy is leading to anger.
Yeah.
Because your anger is aimed at telling the person that don't do this again, because I will get into trouble if you do this.
Yes.
Right? So your anger is aimed at stopping this behavior in future, right? Okay, so the next step would be the self-efficacy thought. I won't be able to deal with a difficult situation. This is the thought, right? Do you think your mother's behavior made you angry, or I won't be able to deal with this?
My inability to deal with it.
Or the thought that I can't?
Yes.
You're so convinced that you are unable to.
Yeah.
Right. So is the situation making you angry, or your own thoughts are
My
making?
thought.
Is that good news or bad news? No, it's good news. Because your mother can't make you angry anymore.
Yes. Makes sense.
Nothing can make you angry. It's your thoughts that are making you angry. I'm not saying your mother is not responsible for anything, but she's just a trigger, you know. The trigger does not drive the bullet. The fuel in it, the gunpowder in the bullet drives it. Even if there was a trigger but there was no gunpowder, the bullet wouldn't go ahead. Although the trigger is responsible for only triggering the gunpowder to ignite. So what do we work on? Your mother, or should we work on your thought?
My thought, the way I
Excellent.
think myself.
So now this is what we call as emotional responsibility. I'm not saying that your mother has nothing to do with this. So she is only doing what she does. However, what you think at that time makes you primarily angry, and it's possible to be less angry by thinking differently. I want to check this thought. I won't be able to handle a difficult situation. Can you prove it to me?
I actually don't have a lot of proof for it, but I think it comes from a very external view of things where I've been told, and I've seen around me that having a support system, having people that are there for you in bad situations is step one to figuring out what your issues are. And when that fails, I think that makes me feel a lot of self-doubt.
No, I'm not undermining the role of support system at all. That's not making you angry. What is making you angry is your self-doubt. Is I won't be able to deal with it. It means a difficult situation. What's the evidence that you won't be able to deal with a difficult situation?
I don't really have a lot of evidence.
Now what's the evidence against it? Have there been instances in past where you did deal with difficult situations all by yourself?
I do, yes.
And I'm not saying you were 100% successful, but you dealt with it, right? So would you like to make a mental note of this, that even if there are difficult situations, I will be able to deal with it, even with difficulty, right? And you need to reiterate this over and over again by asking a question to yourself, what's the evidence I won't be able to deal with? What is the evidence that I have dealt with it? Right? And sometimes, you know, you don't have a clear path. If there is a difficult situation, we don't have a full clear path that how am I going to deal with it. I often give this example. Let's say that, you know, you have to take a morning walk, right? I don't wake up in morning, so I don't know what it is, but you probably know. No?
Neither.
Okay, so you have to take a walk in let's say afternoon. Is that comfortable? Yes. Okay. So, and then there's a lot of fog. You have to take a 1 kilometer walk, but there's a lot of fog. And your visibility is only 10 meters. Do you think you will still be able to take 1 kilometer walk? No? You have never taken a walk. What really happens is that when you walk 10 meters, you see 10 meters ahead.
Yeah, yes, that makes sense, yes. Okay.
Right.
I understood your statement wrong. Yes.
So, you know, you get more and more clarity as you go ahead, and you will still be able to finish the 1 kilometer walk. So when you are in a difficult situation, you don't have to have full clarity of how to deal with it. Maybe one step at a time. What is right now needs to be done. If you do that, then you will see more clearly next step. So would you like to tell this to yourself again that, you know, I may not have full clarity right in the beginning, but I will gain it as I go ahead. Right? And that's why we are asked to break down a difficult task into small pieces. Because once you do one piece, then you get more and more clarity, right? So I want you to remember these two thoughts. There is no evidence I can't deal with difficult situations. And if there comes a difficult situation, I have an action plan, which is take one step at a time. Now, how do these two thoughts make you feel? Helpless or something else?
Pretty hopeful actually.
Pretty hopeful? Realistically hopeful or unrealistically?
No, realistically hopeful.
Realistically hopeful. But do you feel helpless?
Not as much as I did previously.
So maybe a little more confident?
Much better. Yeah.
Okay. And give me one evidence that you have dealt with a difficult situation.
Dealt with a difficult situation.
All by yourself, no support system.
Yeah. Actually, there's a lot of situations, especially during college, where I've had to deal with my team members or professors, and I actually did all of that by myself, and I do have a degree. So
You have a degree. So my take-home message for you: doubt your self-doubt.
Yeah.
Don't trust your self-doubt. Okay? So, what did you learn in today's session?
That that rather than focusing on the outcome and what I see immediately, thinking about where it truly comes from and trying to work on it is a better path forward. And that instead of looking at the bigger picture, like obviously it's important to look at the big picture, but if I look at smaller chunks of the picture and I'm able to figure out what's happening in the smaller part, like 10 meters ahead, at the end of the day, I'll still be able to make some progress rather than think about the 1 kilometer and stay right where I was at.
Okay, so I want to refine what you are taking away from here. You wanted to work on anger, and your anger gets triggered in situations where you see that your support system is going, right? In that, you have to ask this to yourself, that what does this mean to me? It means my support system is gone. Am I taking it personally? For example, am I doubting my ability to deal with consequences, right? This is the second question you need to ask. And if I'm doubting, what is the evidence that I won't be able to deal with a difficult situation? And what is the evidence that I have dealt with difficult situations, right? And then what is the next step to be done, which is take one step at a time, right? So always remember that, in this session we only worked on your anger. However, in the depth of it, we worked on your self-efficacy, which is doubting your ability to do things.
So rather than just worry about the scenario that's happening, give myself a little more grace and space to see the next step, like the next tiny step that I
Going 2 steps too ahead. Let's stick to one thing at a time. I want you to only monitor your thoughts in this week, right? Thoughts when you get very angry. Ask yourself a question. What does this situation mean to me? That's it. Don't go too ahead now, but come back to me in a week's time that what were you thinking at that time when you were very angry, right? And what does this situation mean to me? The answer would be, this situation means I'll be alone, right? Something like this. Now, I want such statements to work on in the next session, right? So I don't expect that you will be able to simply get over your anger immediately. The first step would be monitoring your thoughts in the week. Is that difficult? Would that be easy, right? Doable?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'll see you next week, and thank you very much. Right? What was helpful in today's session?
I think my favorite takeaway from the session is doubt your self-doubt. That I don't really need to trust all the doubts I feel and all the thoughts I have.
And what was not helpful in the session? Is there anything that you did not like in the session?
Much. Actually, if I may take 30 seconds.
Sure.
I've been in therapy for quite some time. 5 years ago was the first time I've gone to therapy, and I've dealt with my fair share of issues. This is one of the best sessions that I've been at because a lot of therapy is talk. A lot of therapy is talk, and finding a therapist in Hyderabad especially is not very easy. Talk therapy does help to an extent, but his entire process, trying to figure out where my issue is coming from, the way he was able to figure out that he doesn't have any context. We've never met before.
I know it.
Yeah, he doesn't know me. You got to know my name right now. But the fact that you were able to figure out that I have self-esteem issues, and self-doubt is one of the biggest issues that will actually help me deal with the issue that I brought to you. So your ability to do that was mind-blowing to me.
I would tell everyone has this ability, it's just a matter of skill. You do it over and over and over again, but everyone here has the ability to do this. It's just a matter of how frequently you do this.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's a skill.
So my takeaway is that I'd like to be like you at some point in my life.
You would like to have skills like me.
Yes.
Alright, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please have a seat. Right. Okay, so thank you so much for your patient listening, and thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much.
I would like to hear some questions, or any feedback is welcome. Questions? Yes, please. You may, point the camera again, and you may write down the questions there. Okay, there was no mention of hypnotherapy in the comparative study. I think I missed it. Hypnotherapy has little evidence, so it did not come up in the top 10 of these. So I think that's why it didn't come up. Hypnotherapy has very limited evidence, especially it is contraindicated in depression and anxiety. So please don't. Depression and anxiety is your bread and butter. Don't play with that with therapies that are not. I would want you to press the up or down button maybe. No, not that. I'll have to go back. Is it completely different if it is a REBT session? It's not completely different. I would go for one more step in REBT session, which is, what does that mean about you? It means I am not good enough. I am helpless, or I am incompetent. But I did not go there because this was a CBT session. CBT and REBT are 95% similar. Next question. Press the down arrow again. It would not be different. Can such sessions be done especially for anger issues in group setting? Yes. In group settings also we introduce specific triggers to anger and then thought processes behind anger, and then we pick up one person from the specific group and demonstrate it on them, and then expand the learning to the rest of the crowd. Okay? Go ahead, next. No, only press the arrow. Yeah. You have to look at the cursor and press. Can you tell about psychoanalysis? Yes. Psychoanalysis is a very popular method which does not have sufficient evidence. However, psychoanalysis is now evolved. It's a breach as the session is being recorded. Yes, it is. It is a breach, but if you do not take the patient's name, then yes, it's not a breach. So you take patient's consent that your session is being recorded, but do not take the patient's name, right? And then the GPT wouldn't know that who is the patient. Yes, next question. Oh, we have 13 questions. Can we integrate CBT with other approaches like psychodynamic therapy or mindfulness-based? Of course, we have MDCT anyway, but psychoanalysis and CBT not very, because psychoanalysis is more insight-oriented. CBT is more problem-oriented, it's action-oriented. So yeah, you can integrate it, but for sure, but they, it's be more action-oriented. That's what I want you to say. Just feeling better and getting better are two different things. Next, please. How should we approach for the anxiety issues? Similarly, find out the cognitive distortions, find out the predictions, and in anxiety, there is overestimation of the negative event and underestimation of the coping capacity. And anxiety would be a 7-day workshop actually. I had to answer it in 7 seconds. Can CBT create long-term personality changes? See, personality is a consistent way of react, right? A consistent way of emotions and behaviors. Cognitive behavior therapy targets emotions and behaviors itself, right? So we can say that the personality traits do get modified. However, nobody can change your entire personality except a stroke, probably. If you have a brain stroke, your personality will change, right? So, personality can evolve, modify, but cannot completely change. All right, how to overcome the hurdles of what? How to overcome the hurdles of? Okay, by supervision. Next question. Will AI replace therapists and psychologists? We all are tilted towards socializing a little bit, right? Everyone, no matter what happens, we all will be tilted towards human beings. So never get threatened by AI. Okay? we always will feel lonely and come back to human beings. However, AI will be a tough competition for you, so please upskill yourself, right? Okay. There is no mention of hypnotherapy. Okay, it's already done. Next, please. Okay, I think I have answered all the questions. We are coming back to the same.
You're on the fourth question.
Okay, so up. Can you go up? I think we are going back to the same. Awesome session. Thank you. Next. What is happening?
Go down. Go down.
There's the REBT session till its termination. Empower the client with necessary skills to be self-sustained. See, you know what? CBT and REBT both are educative, right? So the initial part of therapy focuses on emotional management, middle part of therapy focuses on skills training, and the last part of therapy focuses largely on relapse management and relapse prevention. So there's a lot of skill training that we do in both these therapies. Self-sustained, of course, yes, we want to make the clients their own therapists. However, the therapist is not the only source for change. Always give the clients a lot of books to read, bibliotherapy as we call it, other resources such as ChatGPT. I use it now a lot. I used to use YouTube videos in the past. Now I educate the client to use ChatGPT. For example, somebody said, I compulsively eat a lot. Then I asked the client to practice with their permission-giving beliefs. For example, ChatGPT gave permission-giving beliefs. Oh, I'll eat only one piece now. And the client has to generate a new response. Why do you eat that piece as well? Right? You can control yourself. And then the ChatGPT says, but I really love this sweet. And the client responds, I know you love the sweet, but you will feel guilty later. So they keep generating, responses. That's how you could use ChatGPT in homeworks. Next, please. Next question. Done. Which marital therapy is suggested in recent times? Again, CBT and REBT are both very useful in marital therapy as well. So there are some books that I might want to recommend. Is there just one issue with the subject? No. If you listened to the session well, I did problem formulation, and I was adhering to only one thing at a time. As I said, the secret to success is exclusion. I'm not going to work on other issues. Let us stick to anxiety, anger only, right? So this is not one. However, if you go down and down and down to the deeper core beliefs, her core beliefs were, I am helpless, right? And in CBT, there are only 3 core beliefs. I am helpless, I am unlovable, and I am tell me? Worthless, I am unworthy. Only these. This is the power of morphic minds internships. So there are only 3 core beliefs. So no matter what problem does the person come up with, it has to do with any of these 3 core beliefs only. Right? So yeah, it doesn't matter what problems are there, you have to work on the deepest level. Okay? More? What do you think is growing field in psychology at the moment? I think AI. AI integrated with CBT is growing like crazy. Okay, next please. Can we know advancements in CBT, especially with respect to digital interactions? There is one website, academyofct.org, academyofct.org, and Beck Institute's website, beckinstitute.org. These 2 websites give you recent updates about what's happening in the field of CBT. Beck Institute and Academy of CBT. Next, please. If I wanted to pursue sports psychology, which institute do you suggest for learning? I do not know the answer to this question right now. However, I have lots of interns who have done something in sports psychology, I think in UK, especially with forensic psychology and sports psychology. But I will get back to you. If you write to me on email, I'll answer that question. Right now, I don't know. Anyone next? What will happen in the follow-up session? Excellent. What will happen in the follow-up session? I will check if she has done the homework really well. If did not do, what thoughts came in the way of doing the homework? Did she have a change in her emotions? If did not, then I will follow up with that. And then in the follow-up session, I would pick up either the same issue or a new issue she wants to work on. And I will show her a pattern that, do you see, both these issues have similar roots. So we're not working on two different issues, but one issue which is self-doubt. And then we'll work on the same thing again and extend the learning. And I'll make sure that she does the homework. In fact, the Beck's book, Judy Beck's book, Basics and Beyond, has a session-wise distribution of what needs to be done in the first session, second and third and fourth. What are some challenges you face when clients are resistant to identifying their irrational beliefs, and how do you address this resistance? Resistance comes from three sources. The therapist could be talking too much or talking too little. The therapist could be overwhelming, this therapist could be rigid. It comes from also the client's personality, their disorder itself, or it could be the dynamics between the therapist and client. Say for example, the therapist is unmarried and the client is married. So you know that there is a dynamic difference. The therapist and client are of genders that they don't like to work with, or sexual orientation that they don't like to, or religion or caste that they don't like to. So there could be interpersonal. Now, the resistance can come from these three sources. Identify the source of resistance. Define resistance. Resistance is any behavior that is anti-therapeutic. Right? So, find out the source of the resistance, bring it on the table. I can see that you're not doing the homework. May I know what is going through your mind right now? And they will say, you know what, I don't like you. So would you like a therapist that is different? For example, would you like a female therapist, or would you like a different therapist, or whatever? So be open to dealing with resistance. Okay, as resistance is another long topic. Next please. Oh, we got 32 questions and I'm eating up your tea time. REBT, this should have been an REBT session rather than CBT. We have more questions on REBT. They need booster sessions. Everyone needs booster sessions once in a while. Ideally, it's like, I went to a dentist and, I got my teeth cleaned. I asked, shall I come back? It's like, of course you should. Right? There's one dentist here, right? Yeah, it's just like visiting a dentist. Do I need it again? Well, you don't need it, but it would be nice if you come back, right? The CBT work with children, absolutely amazing. So we were talking about implementing CBT techniques with children and adolescents in the Hyderabad school. So I've been doing the program for last 13 years, a preventive emotional education program. It works really well with children and adolescents as well. Specific modifications, yes. Somebody wants an article, I'll send them to you. How much to learn complete CBT? You can't learn complete CBT. I have learned only small part of CBT. It should be workable, that's it. Complete CBT, nobody has learned. Okay, again, the flip side is, I had the same question for Judy Beck, and I said, I get overwhelmed with these steps. I can't figure out. That was way back in 2008. So I get too caught up with these steps. What to do? She said, Shishir, if you have shown a client a video clip or narrated a story or told something about yourself, self-disclosure, or gave them an analogy or metaphor, and the client shifts their perspective, shifts the way they are thinking, you have done CBT. Right, you have done CBT. So don't focus on steps. And then it struck me that Bhagavad Gita is shifting in perspective, right? And that is the most original form of CBT that is ever recorded. In fact, what was mentioned, I gave a presentation at Hawaii and Peru. They were on Bhagavad Gita and REBT, and these people were shocked. 17 chapters devoted to cognitive restructuring, one chapter to presenting the problem. He's like, really? I said, yes, look at these slopes. He's like, oh my God, this is CBT. It's like, yeah, this is the earliest recorded CBT. It's the earliest recorded CBT. But they don't accept. Like, what? I don't care, you don't accept. It's there already. Okay, next please. Somebody has to put a break. Thank you so much. I'm always available for further. Next slide, please. Connections. The last one, yeah. So you can connect with me on 3 different levels, 3 different platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, and Morphic Minds is my website. You can join the mailing list on Morphic Minds to be updated about upcoming workshops, trainings, and so on. Instagram is, although personal, I keep posting motivational stuff, and LinkedIn, of course, 100% professional. Right. I really thank you for staying awake after the lunch break.
Panel discussion. So another big round of applause as I request Dr. Geeta Sharma ma'am to please facilitate Dr. Shishir. Please give them a big round of applause.
I want Chandra to join me. Chandra.
Mr. Manoj, Mr. Srinath, please get
దీనికి